Under the scorching Texas sun, 4 ex-Green Berets thought they were escorting a simple witness until a bullet shattered their windshield and a child's scream echoed from a cartel's secret truck. What started as a routine mission spiraled into a deadly race against a chemical weapon that could choke an entire city, with a traitor hiding among their own. Who will pay the ultimate price to stop it, and what dark truth waits in the shadow? Hit that subscribe button now and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers to uncover the full story. Under the scorching Texas sun, 4 ex-Green Berets thought they were escorting a simple witness until a bullet shattered their windshield and a child's scream echoed from a cartel's secret truck. What started as a routine mission spiraled into a deadly race against a chemical weapon that could choke an entire city, with a traitor hiding among their own. Who will pay the ultimate price to stop it, and what dark truth waits in the shadow? Hit that subscribe button now and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers to uncover the full story. The air shimmered with heat on March 4, 2025, as dust swirled around the ICE facility in Laredo, Texas. A reinforced transport van sat parked near the chain-link fence, its black paint glinting like a beetle's shell under the relentless noon sun. Inside the briefing room, 4 men moved with the quiet precision of soldiers who'd seen too much war. They weren't just ICE agents, they were legends carved from the brutal edges of special forces, each carrying scars deeper than the ones on their skin. Ryan Caldwell, 48, stood by the van's open hood, his weathered hands tracing the reinforced frame with a mechanic's care. His gray eyes, sharp as flint, hid a storm. 16 years ago, his teenage son overdosed on cartel heroin, a loss that turned Ryan's heart into a furnace of silent fury. He joined this mission not for duty, but for vengeance. Every cartel scalp was a step toward burying that pain. Adjusting his tactical vest, he muttered, "Preparation is survival. We don't move until it's perfect." Javier Torres, 42, leaned against the wall, his dark hair streaked with early gray. His fingers danced over a handheld radio scanner, picking up faint chatter from across the border. Born in El Paso, Javier grew up watching Los Conquistadores turn his neighborhood into a graveyard. His mother's blood still stained his memory, spilled in a crossfire when he was 9. He knew their tactics like a hunter knows his prey. "Morning reports in," he said, voice low. "3 vehicles crossed at Eagle Pass last night. They're splitting our focus." Ethan Mac Hayes, 45, sat at a folding table, a satellite map spread before him like a battlefield blueprint. A jagged scar ran from his left eyebrow to his jaw, a souvenir from an IED in Afghanistan that nearly took his eye. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from the weight of a promise. His daughter Lily, 10 years old, lay in a Houston hospital, her leukemia eating away at her small frame. This was his last mission before retirement, a final paycheck to fund her experimental treatment. "Routes scrubbed from the system," he said, tracing an alternate path with a steady finger. "If they're watching, they're looking in the wrong damn place." Nathan Pierce, 39, stood apart, wiping gun oil from his backup rifle with a rag. His lean frame carried the stillness of a predator, but his hazel eyes flickered with something softer. Regret, maybe. Years ago, in a South American jungle, he defied an order to snipe a civilian target, a choice that cost him his rank but saved his soul. Now, he lived by a code. Protect the innocent, no matter the cost. "Human element's the weak link," he said, holstering his weapon. "One loose lip, and we're dead." The door creaked open and 2 guards escorted Hector Alvarez into the room. The former cartel accountant looked smaller than his mugshot suggested. His tailored suits traded for prison orange, his once confident posture slumped under the weight of betrayal. But his brown eyes burned with a desperate fire. He'd cooked Los Conquistadores books for a decade, funneling millions to save his son from cancer. When the boy died anyway, chemotherapy failing in a border clinic, Hector turned state's evidence. "You know who's coming," he said, voice hoarse as Ryan approached. "They'll kill me to keep their secrets." Ryan met his gaze, his tone steel-edged but not cruel. "I'm Agent Caldwell, your transport lead to Austin. Keeping you alive isn't just our job, it's our mission." Javier stepped forward, his stare piercing. "Los conquistadores won't send grunts. Victor Salazar will deploy his best, ex-special forces, maybe even his chemical strike team." Hector's breath hitched. "They never fail," he whispered. Nathan's reply was a quiet blade. "Neither do we." A sharp knock interrupted them. Agent Emily Carter, Sarah's new name in this shadowed tale, entered, her blonde hair tied back, her face tight with urgency. As ICE's operations coordinator, she was their lifeline to the feds. "Surveillance team in Nuevo Laredo just went dark," she said, dropping a file on the table. "Last report showed cartel movement, big players staging near the border." Ryan nodded, unsurprised. "Pre-OC protocol, they're clearing the board." He turned to the team. "We roll in 15. Emily, get decoy convoys moving. Border checkpoints on alert, but no pattern shifts. Let's not tip our hand." Ethan caught Ryan's arm as the others moved. "That road work on Highway 83, unscheduled, too convenient." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Cartel tactics, they're funneling us." He pulled up a topo map on his phone, eyes narrowing. "Good, let them think they're herding sheep." Javier returned, securing his radio. "Border feeds are quiet, too quiet. They've gone to closed systems." Ryan gathered the team, sunlight flooding the room with Texas heat. "They expect a standard ICE crew. 4 suits, 1 witness, easy pickings. That's our edge." Nathan smirked faintly. "Been a while since anyone mistook us for standard." Ryan's voice turned granite. "Keep it tight, keep it pro. They'll come hard. Vehicles, coordinated teams, heavy weapons. They'll expect us to panic and call for backup, poor bastards." Hector watched, a flicker of awe in his eyes. These weren't guards. They were wolves in ice vests, moving with a predator's grace. As they stepped into the blistering heat, Ryan spotted 3 maintenance vans rolling in. Wrong uniforms, slightly off timing. "Cartel spotters," he murmured, just loud enough for the team. "Showtime." The van's engine roared to life, its reinforced hull hiding its true strength. Whatever waited beyond Laredo's limits, these 4 men weren't just ready, they were built for it. The Texas highway stretched out like a ribbon of molten asphalt, heat waves warping the horizon as the black ice van rumbled north from Laredo. Inside, the air buzzed with tension. 5 men, 1 mission, and a ticking clock none of them could hear yet. Ryan Caldwell gripped the wheel, his knuckles white beneath the tan of his skin, eyes darting between the road and the rearview mirror. Javier Torres sat shotgun, his radio scanner hissing static, while Ethan Hayes hunched over a tablet in the back, plotting their next move despite the ache in his bones. Nathan Pierce perched near the rear doors, rifle resting across his knees like an old friend, and Hector Alvarez sat shackled between them, his shallow breaths fogging the silence. 10 miles out of Laredo, the world exploded. 3 black SUVs roared out from a side road, tires screeching as they cut across the highway, boxing the van in a storm of dust and gunfire. Bullets slammed into the reinforced hull, a metallic hail that rang like a blacksmith's hammer. "Contact!" Nathan shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. Ethan grunted, a sharp hiss escaping his lips as a bullet grazed his shoulder, blood blooming red against his vest. "I'm okay," he snapped, clutching the wound. "Keep moving, damn it!" Javier twisted in his seat, drawing his Glock with a fluid motion. "They're testing us. Low-grade muscle, not Salazar's elite." He squeezed off 2 shots through the shattered windshield, the crack of gunfire sharp against the roar of engines. 1 SUV veered, its front tire bursting, but the others pressed closer, their tinted windows hiding the faces of men who thought they'd caught easy prey. Ryan gritted his teeth, weaving the van through the onslaught. "Play it soft," he ordered. "Let them think we're just ice grunts." Nathan nodded, firing a wild shot that clipped a side mirror. Deliberately sloppy, a mask for the sniper's precision he kept locked away. The radio crackled, Emily Carter's voice breaking through the static. "Ryan, we've got a problem. Someone leaked your real route. There's a traitor in ice." The words hit like a second salvo, freezing the air inside the van. Javier cursed under his breath, his dark eyes narrowing. Who the hell's close enough to know? Ethan, pressing a hand to his bleeding shoulder, growled, "Could be anyone. Dispatch, surveillance, even Carter herself." Ryan's jaw tightened, but he kept his focus on the road. "We deal with that later. Right now, we survive." Hector shrank deeper into his seat, his voice trembling. "I told you, they won't stop. Salazar's got eyes everywhere." Nathan shot him a glance, his hazel eyes cold. "Eyes will blind, one by one." The van shuddered as an SUV rammed its rear, metal grinding against metal. Ryan floored the gas, pulling ahead, but the highway narrowed ahead, a choke point framed by scrub brush and rocky hills. "They're hurting us," Ethan said, his voice tight with pain as he tapped his tablet. "Roadwork up ahead's fake, cartel trap." Javier scanned the horizon, spotting a white pickup trailing at a distance. "That truck. It's passed us twice already. Different driver each time, wrong boots for a rancher." He smirked grimly. "Spotters. They're building a map of us." Ryan's mind raced, calculating angles and odds. "Good. Let them think they're winning." He jerked the wheel, guiding the van around a curve, the pursuing SUVs struggling to keep pace. "Nathan, give them something to chew on. Make it look desperate." Nathan shifted, bracing against the door frame, and fired a burst from his rifle. 3 shots, one shattering an SUV's headlight, another pinging harmlessly off its hood. To the cartel, it had looked like panic fire from a cornered agent. The lead SUV swerved, its driver overcorrecting, and slammed into the guardrail with a screech of twisted steel. "One down," Nathan muttered, reloading with a sniper's calm. But the other 2 pressed harder, their gunners leaning out with automatic rifles, spraying lead that stitched craters into the asphalt. The radio crackled again, Emily's voice urgent. "Border Patrol's picking up more movement. 5 vehicles crossing at Del Rio. They're splitting up, covering multiple routes." Ryan's grip tightened. "Decoys or reinforcements?" Ethan, wincing as he bandaged his shoulder with a torn sleeve, rasped, "Both. Salazar's playing big. He knows what Hector's worth." Hector's head snapped up, sweat beading on his brow. "It's not just me," he stammered. "They've got something worse, something chemical. I saw the plans before I turned." The words hung heavy, a grenade with the pin half pulled. Javier spun on him. "Chemical? What the hell are you talking about?" Hector's eyes darted, fear choking his voice. "Weapons! Gas! Maybe worse. They're testing it now, across the border." Ryan's stomach twisted, the ghost of his son's lifeless face flashing before him. "Why didn't you say this sooner?" Hector shrank back. I thought you'd kill me if you knew how deep I was in." Nathan's voice cut through, steady as stone. "He's not lying. Look, 10 o'clock." Through the cracked windshield, a 4th vehicle emerged. A small cargo truck, unmarked, peeling off toward a dirt road. Its rear door swung open briefly, revealing a stack of sealed crates stenciled with hazard symbols. "That's no ammo run," Javier said, his tone darkening. "That's their real play?" Ryan's mind raced. Split the team to chase it, or stick together and risk losing the bigger threat? The SUVs closed in again, bullets hammering the van's armor. Ethan coughed, blood flecking his lips, but waved off Javier's concern. "Focus on the fight, not me." Ryan made the call, voice like iron. "We stay tight for now. That truck's a lead. We'll track it when we're clear." The highway stretched ahead, a gauntlet of fire and steel, but the real war was only beginning. The Texas sun blazed overhead, turning the highway into a shimmering furnace as the ice van roared through the aftermath of the ambush. Bullet casings littered the asphalt like spent coins, and the wrecked SUV smoldered against the guardrail, a testament to Nathan Pierce's calculated chaos. Inside the van, the air was thick with sweat and gunpowder. Ryan Caldwell kept his eyes locked on the road, hands steady on the wheel, despite the storm brewing in his chest. Javier Torres reloaded his Glock, his jaw clenched tight, while Ethan Mac Hayes slumped in the back, blood soaking his sleeve, his breathing shallow but stubborn. Nathan sat poised at the rear, rifle ready, and Hector Alvarez trembled between them, his confession still echoing. Chemical weapons. "That truck," Nathan said, his voice low, pointing toward the dirt road where the cargo vehicle had vanished. "It's not just a supply run. Those crates, hazard symbols, Salazar's moving something big." Hector's head snapped up, his dark eyes blazing. "Hector, what the hell did you mean? Testing it now? Spill it or I swear." Hector flinched, his shackled hands twisting. I saw the plans," he stammered, "before I turned. They've got a lab across the border. Gas, maybe worse. They're building something to choke cities." Ryan's grip tightened, knuckles whitening. The ghost of his son, pale, lifeless, sprawled on a bathroom floor, flashed before him. "Cities," he repeated, voice a growl. "Like Austin?" Hector nodded, sweat dripping from his brow. "They want power, control." I didn't know how far it went until it was too late. Ethan coughed, wincing as he pressed his wound. "Too late for what? What's on that truck?" Hector's eyes darted, fear choking his words. "A sample. They shipped a batch this morning, across Eagle Pass." The van fell silent, the weight of it sinking in. Javier slammed his fist against the dashboard. "A sample? You sat on that while they shot at us?" Ryan shot him a look. "Focus, Javier. He's talking now." But his mind raced. Stay the course to Austin or chase that truck? The radio crackled, Emily Carter's voice cutting through. "Ryan, comms are spotty. Border Patrol's jammed. I'm trying to get eyes on those vehicles from Del Rio." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Jammed? How convenient." Suspicion gnawed at him. Emily's intel had been too perfect, until it wasn't. "We can't let that truck get away," Nathan said, his tone flat but urgent. "If it's a weapon, every second counts." Ethan, pale and sweating, nodded. "He's right, but we split now, we're weaker. Salazar's counting on that." Ryan made the call, voice like steel. "Nathan, Javier, you're on that truck. Take my spare radio, stay off the main channel. Ethan and I hold Hector, push for Austin." Javier spun on him. "You're kidding. We're already bleeding and you want us to split?" Ryan met his glare. "That truck's the key, you know it." Javier cursed but nodded, grabbing gear as Nathan kicked open the rear doors. The van slowed just enough for them to roll out, dust swallowing their silhouettes as they sprinted toward the dirt road. Ryan floored the gas, the van lurching forward, Ethan grunting beside him. "You better be right about this," Ethan rasped. "I'm always right," Ryan lied, his gut twisting. Hector whispered, "You don't know what they're capable of." Ryan didn't reply. His son's face told him plenty. 5 miles down the dirt track, Javier and Nathan found the truck abandoned near a crumbling warehouse, its engine still ticking, hot. The rear doors hung open, crates spilled across the ground, yellow hazard labels glaring in the sunlight. Javier's heart pounded as he approached, his mother's screams echoing in his ears. "This is it," he said, voice tight. Nathan swept the area with his rifle, senses razor-sharp, too quiet. They ditched it for a reason. Then they heard it, a muffled sob from inside the warehouse. Javier signaled Nathan and they breached the rusted door, boots crunching on broken glass. The air inside stank of oil and fear. In the dim light they saw them, a dozen children, Mexican kids no older than 12, huddled in a cage of chicken wire. Their clothes were ragged, faces streaked with dirt and tears. One girl, maybe 8, pressed against the bars, whimpering, "Ayúdanos, poor father." Javier froze, his breath catching. No, they didn't." Nathan's eyes darkened, his code screaming in his skull. "Protect the innocent. Test subjects," he said, voice a blade. "They're using kids as guinea pigs." Javier dropped to his knees, ripping at the wire with bare hands, blood welling from his fingers. "Bastards!" he roared, memories of his mother's death crashing over him like a tidal wave. A boy, Diego, maybe 10, stared up at him, eyes wide. "They took us, said we'd help them win." Nathan cut the lock with a bolt cutter from his pack, his calm cracking just enough to show the fury beneath. "You're safe now. We're getting you out." But the truck wasn't empty. A single crate remained, its lid ajar. Inside, a canister hissed faintly, a faint green mist curling from its seam. Javier yanked Diego back. "Nathan, that's live! They left it to kill us!" Nathan grabbed a tarp, smothering the leak, his hands steady despite the risk. "It's a trap, rigged to blow when we open the doors." Javier's voice shook. "These kids, they were bait!" Outside, engines growled. 2 more cartel vehicles screeched into view, dust billowing behind them. Nathan dragged the kids behind a stack of crates, rifle up. "We've got company. Javier, get them ready to run." Javier nodded, scooping Diego into his arms, the boy's small hands clutching his vest. "We're not dying here," he swore, his mother's ghost urging him on. The truth was uglier than they'd imagined, and the fight was far from over. The Texas dusk painted the sky in streaks of orange and blood as 2 battles raged under its fading light. On the highway, the ice van thundered toward Austin, its armored hull scarred from the cartel's relentless assault. Inside, Ryan Caldwell gripped the wheel, his face a mask of iron despite the chaos tearing at his soul. Ethan Mac Hayes sat slumped beside him, blood seeping from his shoulder, his scarred hands trembling as he clutched a radio. Hector Alvarez huddled in the back, his shackled wrists clinking with every jolt, fear etching lines deeper into his face. Miles away, Javier Torres and Nathan Pierce fought for survival in a crumbling warehouse, surrounded by rescued children and the hissing threat of a chemical trap. On the highway, the cartel struck again. Harder, smarter. 2 armored trucks roared into view, their reinforced bumpers gleaming like battering rams, flanked by a buzzing drone spitting tracer rounds from above. Bullets hammered the van, glass shards raining inside as Ryan swerved, tires squealing. "They've upped their game," Ethan shouted, voice ragged over the din. He tapped his tablet, blood smearing the screen. "They're boxing us into a kill zone. Those hills ahead are perfect for an ambush." Ryan's eyes narrowed. Salazar's elite. They know we're not breaking. The drone swooped low, its gunfire stitching a deadly line across the hood. Ethan coughed, pain lancing through him, but he grabbed a signal jammer from his pack. "I've got this," he rasped, fumbling with the device. "Get us clear." Ryan nodded, yanking the wheel to dodge a ramming truck, but the second one clipped their rear, sending the van fishtailing. A rocket streaked from the hills, exploding yards ahead, flames licking the asphalt, shrapnel peppering the windshield. Ethan grunted as a shard of glass sliced into his chest, blood bubbling from his lips. "Ryan," he wheezed, clutching the jammer. "Lily, my girl, promise me." Ryan's heart clenched, his son's ghost merging with Ethan's fading voice. "You're not dying, Mac," he roared, but Ethan's eyes fluttered, his scarred face pale. "Cancer's got her, treatment, you've got to." With a final surge, he flipped the jammer's switch, a high-pitched whine cutting the drone's signal. It spiraled, crashing into the hillside in a fireball, but Ethan slumped forward, the shard buried deep, his breath slowing to a whisper. "Tell her, Daddy fought." Ryan grabbed his shoulder, shaking him. "Max, stay with me." But Ethan's hand fell limp, the radio slipping to the floor. Hector's voice cracked from the back. "He's gone, oh God, he's gone!" Ryan's vision blurred, tears or rage he couldn't tell, but he slammed the gas, the van surging through the flames. "Not yet," he growled, a vow to the dead. "Not until they pay." The trucks pursued, relentless, their gunners leaning out with rifles, but Ryan drove like a man possessed, Ethan's last words burning in his skull. "Promise me." Miles away, Javier and Nathan faced their own hell. The warehouse shuddered as 2 cartel SUVs screeched to a halt outside, doors flying open to disgorge 6 gunmen in tactical gear, Salazar's enforcers, not the grunts from the highway. Javier crouched behind crates, Diego clinging to his side, the boy's small hands trembling. "Stay down, kid," he whispered, his burned knuckles raw from tearing at the cage. Nathan knelt nearby, rifle trained on the entrance, the other 11 kids huddled behind him, their sobs a quiet chorus of terror. The canister in the truck crate hissed louder, green mist curling upward despite Nathan's tarp. "It's rigged to blow," he said, voice steady but eyes hard. "They wanted us to find it, wipe us out with the kids." Javier's chest heaved, his mother's screams echoing from decades past. "They're monsters," he spat, drawing his Glock. Diego's voice broke through, small but fierce. "My mama said angels would save us." Javier met his gaze, pain twisting his gut. "No angels here, Diego, just us." The gunman breached, flashbangs bursting in blinding flares. Nathan fired first, a single shot dropping the lead man through the skull, a sniper's kill masked as luck. Javier rolled out, unloading his Glock into another, the recoil jarring his wounded hands. Bullets chewed the crates, splintering wood as the kids screamed. "Nathan, get them out!" Javier yelled, dragging Diego toward a shattered window. Nathan laid down cover fire, precise shots forcing the gunman back, but a round grazed his thigh, blood soaking his pants. He didn't flinch. "Go! I'll hold them." Javier kicked out the window, glass raining into the dusk, and lifted Diego through. "Run, kid! Straight to the road!" The boy hesitated, tears streaking his face. "You're coming, right?" Javier forced a smile, shoving the other kids out. "Right behind you!" But the canister's hiss turned to a shriek. Pressure building, seconds from rupture. Nathan shouted, "Javier, it's live!" Javier spun, grabbing a fire extinguisher, and sprayed it at the crate, the foam smothering the mist in a desperate bid to buy time. The gunmen rallied, a hail of bullets pinning Nathan as he dragged the last girl out. Javier hurled the extinguisher at them, diving for cover as it clattered uselessly. The warehouse shook, a muffled boom from the crate, not a full blast, but enough to spew a cloud of choking gas. Javier's lungs burned, his vision swimming, but he stumbled out, Diego's hand in his. Nathan limped behind, coughing blood, the kids scattering into the twilight. "We're alive!" Javier gasped, collapsing with Diego in his arms. "For now." Back on the highway, Ryan barreled through the dusk, Ethan's body still beside him, a silent sentinel. The cartel trucks loomed in his mirrors, but something bigger waited, something chemical, something monstrous, and he'd burn it all down to stop it. Night swallowed the Texas plains, the sky a bruised tapestry of purple and black as two fractured battles teetered on the edge of collapse. On the highway, Ryan Caldwell barreled toward Austin, the ice van's engine roaring like a wounded beast. Ethan Mac Hayes lay still beside him, his blood pooling on the floor, a silent testament to the cost of their fight. Hector Alvarez gripped his seat in the back, his shackled hands trembling, his breath ragged with guilt and fear. Miles away, Javier Torres and Nathan Pierce staggered from the warehouse, lungs burning from chemical fumes, a dozen rescued children clinging to them like lifelines in a storm. Ryan's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. No cartel trucks in sight, but the quiet felt wrong, a predator's pause before the kill. Ethan's radio lay in his lap, its last transmission from Emily Carter looping in Ryan's mind. "Comms are spotty, border patrol's jammed." He snatched it up, thumbing the channel. "Emily, status, now." Static crackled, and her voice broke through, strained. "Ryan, I've got border patrol rerouting, but it's chaos. What's your position?" He hesitated, suspicion clawing at him. 10 miles from the 83 cutoff. Where's that truck?" Silence stretched too long before she replied. "Lost it. Del Rio feeds are down." Hector's voice rasped from the back. "She's lying. Salazar's got someone inside. Always has." Ryan's gut twisted. Emily had been their rock, but her timing, her intel, it all stank now. He switched off the main channel, digging into Ethan's pack for a spare radio. A faint signal buzzed through, a recorded fragment from Mac's last sweep. Carter's line. Encrypted ping to an off-grid node. "She's dirty." Ryan's blood ran cold. Ethan had known, had died knowing. "Son of a bitch," he muttered, slamming the dash. Emily Carter, their lifeline, was the traitor. Before he could process it, Javier's voice crackled over the spare. "Ryan, we've got the kids barely." Gas went off, but we're clear. Where are you?" Ryan's throat tightened. relief warring with grief. "Max down. Highway's a war zone. You?" Javier's reply was hoarse. "Nathan's hit, legs bleeding bad. Kids are safe, but that truck, it's not the only one. Hector knows more. Hector knows more." Ryan spun on Alvarez, eyes blazing. "Talk, now." Hector shrank back, his voice a broken whisper. "Uvalde. Salazar's got a base there underground. It's not just me they want dead. They're hitting Austin tonight. Chemical drop, a show of power." Ryan's mind reeled, the pieces snapping into place. Ethan's death, the kids, the truck, all distractions for something bigger. "Tonight?" he pressed. Hector nodded, sweat soaking his collar. "Midnight. They've got drones, canisters, enough to choke the city. I saw the plans, I helped fund it." The van swerved as Ryan's hands shook, not from fear, but fury. His son's face, Ethan's plea for Lily, the kids in that warehouse, all fuel on a fire he couldn't douse. "Javier!" he barked into the radio. "Where's that truck headed?" Nathan cut in, voice strained. "Tracks lead north. Uvalde. But if Austin's the target, we're out of time." Ryan's mind raced. Uvalde to stop the source, or Austin to save the city? Splitting again risked everything, but staying whole might doom thousands. Emily's voice broke through again, unbidden. "Ryan, I've got FBI moving. Where do you need them?" He stared at the radio, Ethan's warning echoing. "You tell me, Carter," he said, voice ice. "Why'd you ping Salazar's node?" Silence, then a choked sob. "They've got my daughter, Ryan, 2 years old. I didn't have a choice." The confession hit like a gut punch, betrayal wrapped in desperation. "You sold us out for her," he said, not a question. "They'd kill her," she pleaded. "I'm sorry." He cut the line, her words a jagged shard in his chest. Alia's voice returned, urgent. "Ryan, we've got a dozen kids here. Diego's asking for you. What's the play?" Ryan closed his eyes, Ethan's blood sticky on his hands. Lily's face, pale, fragile, merged with his son's in his mind. "Nathan, you and I hit Uvalde Salazar's base. Javier, take the kids and Hector to Austin. Sound the alarm." Javier exploded over the radio. "No way, Ryan, I'm not leaving you to die." Ryan gripped the mic, voice breaking. "You're burned, Javier. Those kids need you. Austin's got thousands of lives. Diego's one of them. Go." Nathan's calm cut through. "I'm in, Ryan. Leg's a mess, but I can shoot." Javier cursed, but Diego's voice piped up, small and fierce. "He's an angel, Javier. He'll save us." Javier's laugh was bitter. "No angels, kid, just men who bleed." Ryan heard the surrender in his tone. "Fine. Austin it is. Don't you dare die, Caldwell." The line went dead and Ryan floored the gas, veering toward Uvalde, Nathan climbing in beside him despite the limp. Hector's voice trembled. "You're crazy. Salazar's got an army there." Ryan didn't look back. Good, more targets. But doubt gnawed at him. Emily's daughter, a toddler caught in this hell, twisted the knife. Was she a traitor, or a mother broken by the same monsters he hunted? He shoved it down, the van tearing through the night. Javier's path diverged, the kids' shadows fading into the dark as he raced for Austin. Hector slumped beside him, guilt a weight he couldn't shed. The clock ticked toward midnight. A chemical dawn loomed over Texas, and 2 fractured teams bore the scars of a war they hadn't chosen. Ryan glanced at Ethan's body, whispering, "I'll keep your promise, Mac." The road split ahead, and with it, their fates. The Texas night hung heavy over Uvalde, a shroud of stars veiled by the acrid tang of gasoline and dust. Ryan Caldwell guided the battered ice van off the highway, its headlights cutting through the dark toward a cluster of abandoned oil rigs. Victor Salazar's hidden fortress. Beside him, Nathan Pierce gripped his rifle, blood seeping through the makeshift bandage on his thigh, his sniper's calm unshaken despite the pain. Ethan Mac Hayes' body lay in the back, a silent passenger, his last words, "Promise me," driving Ryan forward like a blade in his spine. The clock ticked toward midnight, and with it, the cartel's plan to choke Austin in a chemical shroud. Ryan killed the engine a half-mile out, the van rolling to a stop behind a rusted pump jack. "Hector said underground," he muttered, scanning the terrain. "Flat, open, a kill zone if they were spotted." Nathan nodded, peering through his scope. "There. Rig number 3, heat signatures below ground. They've fortified it." Shadows moved in the distance, cartel guards patrolling with military precision, their rifles glinting under floodlights. Ryan's gut churned. Ethan gone. Javier miles away, and Emily's betrayal still raw. "We're outnumbered," he said. Nathan's reply was stone cold. "Always are. Let's hunt." They moved like ghosts, skirting the perimeter. Ryan's boots silent on the cracked earth, Nathan limping but steady. A guard stepped into their path. Nathan's knife flashed, a quiet gurgle, and the man crumpled. They dragged him behind a barrel, stripping his radio. "Perimeter's tight," Nathan whispered, tuning the device. "Salazar's here." Command chatters live. Ryan's eyes hardened. "Good. I want his head." They found the entrance, a steel hatch beneath the rig, locked but unguarded, a flaw in the cartel's arrogance. Nathan pried it open and they descended into the dark. The underground base pulsed with menace, concrete walls lined with pipes, the air thick with chemical fumes, crates of hazard-marked canisters stacked high, drones prepped on racks, a war machine ready to unleash hell. Ryan's heart pounded, his son's death fueling every step. They crept through corridors, Nathan's scope picking off sentries with muffled shots. Each kill a sniper's art, precise and silent. But the deeper they went, the louder the hum grew. A control room ahead, voices barking orders in Spanish. They breached it in a heartbeat. Nathan kicked the door, Ryan stormed in, Glock raised. 6 men spun, rifles up, but Nathan's first shot dropped the nearest, blood spraying the console. Ryan fired twice, 2 more down, their bodies slumping over blinking screens. The room stank of solder and fear. Maps of Austin glowing on monitors, countdown timers ticking, 23 minutes to launch. At the center stood Victor Salazar, tall and wiry, his ex-special forces bearing unbroken despite the chaos. His dark eyes locked on Ryan, a predator sizing prey. "You're late," he said, voice smooth as oil. Ryan trained his gun on Salazar's chest. "Call it off, Victor. Your drones, your gas, it ends here." Salazar smirked, hands steady near a control panel. "You think this is about one city? This is Mexico's freedom. Breaking your chokehold, your border walls, your sanctimony." Ryan's finger tightened on the trigger, Ethan's blood flashing in his mind. "Freedom? You're gassing kids, you bastard!" The crack in his armor, collateral. Every war has it. You'd know, Green Beret. Nathan edged forward, rifle up, but a shadow moved. Salazar's lieutenant lunged from behind a console, blade flashing. Ryan dodged, the knife grazing his arm, and fired, dropping the man mid-stride. But Salazar seized the moment, slamming a button. Alarms shrieked, red lights pulsing. "You're too late," he sneered, drawing a pistol. Nathan fired, the round clipping Salazar's shoulder, but he dove behind a steel crate, returning fire. Bullets ricocheted, sparking off pipes, and Ryan charged, tackling Salazar into the console. The fight was brutal. Salazar's training matched Ryan's, fists cracking ribs, elbows slamming jaws. A pipe burst overhead, steam hissing as they grappled. Salazar drove a knee into Ryan's gut, wrenching free, and snatched a knife from his boot. "You're nothing without your team," he spat, lunging. The blade sank into Ryan's stomach, a hot, blinding pain, and he staggered, blood soaking his shirt. But rage, Ethan's, his son's, the kids, kept him upright. He grabbed Salazar's wrist, twisting until bones snapped, the knife clattering free. Salazar roared, reaching for the panel, fingers inches from a red trigger. "Austin burns!" he yelled. Nathan, limping forward, fired. A single shot, perfect, shattering Salazar's hand. The cartel leader crumpled, clutching the ruin of his fingers, his pistol skittering across the floor. Ryan sank to his knees, clutching his wound, blood pooling beneath him. "Not today," he gasped, vision swimming. Nathan dragged himself to the console, smashing the launch controls with his rifle butt. Screens flickered, timers froze at 19 minutes. The room fell silent but for Salazar's ragged breathing and the drip of Ryan's blood. Nathan knelt beside him, tearing his sleeve to staunch the flow. "Stay with me, Caldwell. We're not done." Ryan's head lolled, Ethan's face in his haze. "Mac, Lily." Nathan's voice sharpened. "You'll keep that promise? Hold on." Guards' boots echoed in the halls, reinforcements closing in, but the drones stayed grounded, Austin spared for now. Salazar glared up, defiant. "You can't stop what's coming. This is bigger than me." Ryan spat blood, staring him down. "Watch me." The battle wasn't over. Not while Javier raced toward Austin, not while a traitor's confession lingered unanswered. The Texas night deepened over Austin, a restless city unaware of the shadow creeping toward it. Javier Torres pushed a stolen pickup truck to its limits, the engine groaning as he sped through back roads, dust swirling in his wake. Beside him, Hector Alvarez clutched the dashboard, his prison-orange jumpsuit stark against the dark. In the truck bed, 12 Mexican children huddled under a tarp, their small bodies trembling. Diego, the boy with fierce eyes, pressed closest to the cab, peering through the cracked rear window. Javier's hands, burned and bloodied from the warehouse fight, shook on the wheel, his lungs still raw from the chemical sting. Midnight loomed, and with it, Salazar's final play. Miles away in Uvalde, Ryan Caldwell clung to life, slumped against a shattered console in the cartel's underground lair. Blood pooled beneath him, his stomach wound a searing agony, but his gray eyes burned with defiance. Nathan Pierce knelt beside him, hands slick with Ryan's blood as he tied a tourniquet from his belt. Victor Salazar lay crumpled nearby, his ruined hand useless, his dark gaze smoldering with hate. The drones sat silent, their launch aborted, but the echo of boots in the halls signaled more cartel gunmen closing in. "FBI's coming," Nathan rasped, reloading his rifle. "Hold on, Ryan." Ryan coughed, blood flecking his lips. "Finish it. For Mac." On the outskirts of Austin, Javier spotted it, a black cargo van parked near a water tower, its rear doors ajar, a faint green mist curling into the night. "That's it," he growled, slamming the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop, gravel crunching as he leapt out, Glock in hand. Hector stumbled after him, voice trembling. "That's the drop." Salazar's men must have ditched it after Uvalde. Javier's eyes narrowed. The mist thickened, drifting toward the city's glow. "It's live," he said, dread sinking in. "They've triggered it." Diego poked his head out, his small voice cutting through. "What's that smoke?" Javier spun, shoving him back. "Stay down, kid. Everyone, cover your faces." The children obeyed, pulling shirts over their mouths, but the mist crept closer, a silent killer on the wind. Javier raced to the van, peering inside. Canisters lined the floor, one cracked open, hissing poison. His mother's screams flashed in his mind, her death at cartel hands, his failure to save her. "Not this time," he swore, grabbing a crowbar from the truck. He pried at the canister, trying to seal it, but a second one ruptured, gas billowing out in a choking cloud. His eyes watered, his throat burned, but he kept working, coughing blood onto the asphalt. Hector shouted, "Javier, you'll die! Get back!" Javier ignored him, slamming the crowbar down, denting the valve enough to slow the leak. "Austin's got thousands," he rasped. "I'm not letting them choke." The city lights flickered in the distance, oblivious. Javier staggered to the truck, banging on the side. "Hector, drive! Get them to the church on 5th. Sound the bell." Hector hesitated, fear paralyzing him, but Diego's voice broke through. "He's an angel, do it!" Javier's laugh was a wheeze. "No angels, kid, just me." Hector nodded, scrambling into the driver's seat, the truck lurching toward Austin as Javier turned back to the van. He dragged a tarp over the canisters, his hands blistering from the chemical burn, but the mist kept coming. A third canister hissed, and he stumbled, vision blurring. The church loomed ahead. Hector crashed through its gate, leaping out to haul the kids inside. Diego fought him, screaming, "Javier's out there!" Hector yanked him back, slamming the door as he rang the bell, its clang echoing over the Javier sank to his knees by the van, the cloud swallowing him, and pulled the truck's radio mic. "Austin, this is Ice Agent Torres. Chemical attack. Run. Get high ground. Now." Static swallowed his words as the mic slipped from his hand. He crawled toward the church, Diego's face in his mind. Those fierce eyes, that fragile hope. The bell's toll woke the streets. Lights flared, people spilled out, running as the mist drifted closer. Javier collapsed, Diego's tarp-covered form his last sight. "Live, kid," he whispered, blood pooling beneath him. "Live for me." His mother's ghost stood over him, her smile soft. And then darkness took him. In Uvalde, the base shook as cartel reinforcements breached the outer halls. Nathan dragged Ryan behind a crate, firing precise shots. One guard down, then another, their rifles clattering. "Stay with me, Caldwell," he grunted, reloading. Ryan's head lolled, Ethan's plea ringing. "Lily?" "Treatment. I promised," he croaked, clawing at consciousness. Sirens wailed outside. FBI tactical teams stormed in, their shouts drowning the gunfire. Nathan fired one last round, a guard dropping, and waved the feds over. "Here, he's hit bad." Agents swarmed the room, cuffing Salazar as he spat curses. "You've won nothing," he snarled, his broken hand dangling. A medic knelt by Ryan, cutting his shirt, staunching the wound. "He's critical. Get a bird in." Nathan sank back, leg bleeding, rifle still in hand. "Austin?" he asked. An agent shook his head. "Reports of gas, border patrols moving in. Your man Torres radioed a warning." Ryan's eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. Javier. In Austin, the church bell still rang. Hector slumped against the wall, kids clinging to him. Diego broke free, running to the door, peering through the mist. "He's out there," he sobbed, pounding the glass. The city stirred, fleeing the cloud. Javier's last act rippling through the night. Ryan clung to life in Uvalde, the feds securing the base, but the cost. Ethan, Javier, the kids' scars, hung heavy. The war wasn't over. Not yet. The Texas dawn broke over a scarred landscape, its pale light filtering through the haze of a night that nearly swallowed a city. In Austin, the streets lay quiet, the chemical cloud dispersed by frantic winds and the swift hands of hazmat teams. Church bells had fallen silent, their echoes replaced by the hum of sirens and the murmurs of a people spared from death's grasp. Javier Torres lay still on a hospital gurney, his burned hands bandaged, his chest rising faintly under the watch of medics who'd pulled him from the mist. Beside him, Diego sat cross-legged, his small face streaked with tears and soot, clutching a blood-stained ice badge. Javier's last gift. Miles away in Uvalde, Ryan Caldwell awoke in a medevac chopper, rotors thumping above as an IV dripped life back into his veins. His stomach wound throbbed, stitched and raw, but his gray eyes burned with a survivor's fire. Nathan Pierce slumped across from him, legs splinted, rifle resting beside him like a loyal hound. FBI agents swarmed the cartel base below, hauling Victor Salazar into a black SUV, his broken hand cuffed, his defiance reduced to a snarl. The drones sat grounded, their poison locked away, a city saved. But the cost weighed heavy on the dawn. In Austin's St. Mary's Hospital, Javier stirred, his first breath a ragged gasp. A nurse adjusted his oxygen mask, her voice soft. "You're a hero, Agent Torres. City owes you." He blinked, vision hazy, and saw Diego, safe, alive, staring at him with those fierce brown eyes. "You didn't die," the boy whispered, clutching the badge. Javier's laugh was a wheeze, pain lancing through him. "Not yet, kid. Told you I'd follow." Diego's lip trembled. and he threw his thin arms around Javier, sobbing into his chest. "You're my angel." Javier's eyes stung, not from gas, but something deeper. "No angels," he murmured, echoing his mother's ghost. "Just us." A social worker approached, her clipboard crisp against her scrubs. "Diego's got a foster family lined up. Good folks in Round Rock. They'll take him today." Javier nodded, weak but firm. "Make sure he's safe. He's seen too much." Diego pulled back, clutching the badge tighter. "I'll keep this. For you." Javier's hand shook as he ruffled the boy's hair. "Live big, Diego. For me. For all of us." The boy's foster parents entered, kind eyes, warm smiles, and Diego hugged Javier one last time before stepping into their embrace, a fragile hope taking root. 1 month later, Ryan stood before a small grave in Houston's Memorial Oak Cemetery, the air thick with spring's first bloom. Ethan McHay's headstone gleamed new, etched with father, soldier, hero. Ryan's cane clicked on the path, his wound forcing retirement, but his promise unbroken. He knelt, wincing, and placed a green beret pin beside a bouquet of lilies. Lily's flower. "Kept my word, Mac," he said, voice rough. "She's in treatment, experimental stuff. Docs say she's fighting." A girl's laughter echoed nearby. Lily Hayes, 10 and frail, chasing a butterfly with her mother, her chemo cap bright against the grass. Ryan's throat tightened, Ethan's ghost smiling in the breeze. Back in Laredo, Nathan Pierce briefed Ice Brass, his leg in a brace but his sniper's calm intact. "Los conquistadores are done," he said, tossing a stack of intel on the table. FBI's raided 23 sites. Mexico's military hit 5 more. Salazar's chemical dreams ash. An agent nodded. "Cartels are pulling back. Recruitment's tanked. They saw what 4 of you did." Nathan's lip twitched. 3. Now. The room stilled. Ethan's absence, a wound unhealed. Across the border, Victor Salazar glared through a cell's bars, his voice a hiss to a guard. "This isn't over. Others will rise." The guard shrugged. "Not with gas. They won't. Your empire's a warning." Salazar's silence was a snarl, his power shattered, his vision buried with his drones. The ripple spread. Cartels abandoned chemical labs, their myth of invincibility broken by 4 men who'd bled for it. In a Tistim, Javi sat in a wheelchair, discharged but scarred, reading a letter from Emily Carter, found in her locker after her arrest. 2 years old, all I've got. I'm sorry. His jaw clenched, anger warring with pity. She'd sold them out, cost Ethan's life, but her daughter's photo tucked in the envelope softened the edge. "Damn you, Emily," he muttered, crumpling it. Was she a traitor or a mother? He couldn't decide, maybe never would. Diego's new life unfolded in Round Rock, his foster parents framing his first drawing, angels on the highway. 4 figures in the mist, Javier's badge pinned beside it. At school he traced their shapes in crayon, a quiet boy with a story too big to tell. His foster mom hugged him tight. "You're home now, Diego." He nodded, but his eyes lingered on the badge. Javier's ghost, Ethan's sacrifice, a promise kept. Ryan drove to Houston weekly, watching Lily fight, her chemo a battle he couldn't join but wouldn't abandon. "She's got your fire, Mac," he told the grave one dusk, the pin glinting in fading light. Javier healed in Laredo, training recruits with Nathan, their scars a testament to what 4 men could do. Los conquistadores faded into whispers, their chemical dawns snuffed out, but the shadows lingered. Emily's plea, Salazar's threat, a world still teetering. The sun set over Texas, casting long shadows across a land scarred but standing. Ryan leaned on his cane, Javier polished his badge, and Diego drew angels, hope flickering where fire had burned.